The city of Korrathia sprawled beneath the cadets like a living constellation, towers of crystalline alloys refracting the light of 3 suns into impossible rainbows. Hovering vehicles traced arcs through the air, leaving trails of neon luminescence that twisted around the tallest spires. Alien citizens moved with an elegance humans could scarcely imagine, limbs bent at impossible angles, bodies shimmering with bioluminescent patterns, heads that swiveled independently to observe every motion. Humans, by contrast, seemed small and fragile, their motions awkward yet bold, their laughter piercing the carefully orchestrated hum of alien precision. Rylan adjusted his pack and stepped onto the training plaza, feeling the slight pull of the gravity modulation fields beneath his boots. Alien cadets moved past him with perfect fluidity, each step calculated, each leap precise. They executed flips, rotations, and aerial maneuvers that seemed to defy physics itself. Humans stumbled, misjudged, and fell, but each misstep was absorbed, learned from, and converted into instinctive adaptation. A slip became a roll, a falter became a jump, and gradually, they moved with a chaotic rhythm that was uniquely human. In the central arena, holographic simulations of alien combat exercises flickered to life. Energy grids pulsed, walls shifted, and drones hovered with mechanical precision. Alien cadets struck poses, calculated angles, and executed sequences that had been honed over centuries. Rylan paused, observing the flow of the simulation, and then, without warning, he leapt, not in the calculated arc the aliens expected, but diagonally, twisting midair to avoid a pulsing energy beam. A drone, anticipating a standard maneuver, collided harmlessly with a platform, stunned. A ripple of murmurs ran through the observation decks. Humans were reckless, yes, but unpredictably brilliant. Later, the cafeteria offered a quieter stage for human ingenuity. Floating trays, anti-gravity beverages, and food suspended midair challenged coordination. Tentacled cadets balanced and twisted, carefully following procedures learned over decades. Rylan bumped a tray accidentally, sending it spinning toward a cluster of aliens. Without hesitation, he caught it midair, righted the plates, and set them down with a grin. The surrounding cadets froze, their multiple eyes blinking in astonishment. Some leaned back, mouths agape. No words were exchanged, but every observer registered the audacity. Humans were clever, improvisational, defiant. The streets of Korrathia offered another challenge entirely. Between towering crystalline towers, pedestrians flowed like rivers of color. Hovercrafts darted along elevated lanes, and street vendors projected holographic menus in cascading light. Humans navigated the chaos with instinctive timing. Sidestepping levitating drones, calculating paths in seconds that took alien minds minutes to anticipate. Rylan and his friends paused at a junction, observing a crowd of alien cadets frozen by a sudden hazard, a rogue energy panel sparking erratically. Without hesitation, humans dove into action, a beam redirected here, a lever flipped there, improvising solutions that the aliens had overlooked. By the time the panel stabilized, the humans stood back, grinning. The aliens were stunned. Even in quieter moments, humans left their mark. In the observation gardens of the Academy, holographic flora pulsed with alien bioluminescence. Cadets from countless worlds studied the patterns of light, the flows of energy, the careful harmony of life and technology. Rylan wandered among them, tracing patterns with his fingers, noting irregularities that no alien mind had recorded. Where others sought perfection, he sought insight, a missing pulse here, an unusual reflection there. Humor, curiosity, and cleverness combined in small gestures that revealed the uniquely human ability to see what others could not. By evening, the 3 suns dipped below the horizon, casting fractured light across the spires. Humans gathered on the central plaza balcony, watching the city shimmer in a mosaic of neon and crystalline reflections. Stories were shared, small acts of rebellion, improvised victories. Daring leaps in training, and laughter that sounded almost alien in its honesty and audacity. In these moments, they were outsiders, but proud ones. Rylan looked outward, imagining the galaxy beyond the city's towers. The universe had taught other species discipline, calculation, and precision. Humans had something else: instinct, courage, humor, and the stubborn refusal to be underestimated. They were small sparks in the vast darkness, unpredictable, audacious, and alive. And the cosmos had not yet realized how brightly those sparks could burn. The following morning, the academy thrummed with energy. Hollow signals flashed across the towers, signaling drills, combat simulations, and interspecies competitions. Alien cadets moved in precise formation, their movements fluid and predictable, honed over centuries of tradition. Humans, however, thrived in unpredictability. Where aliens relied on learned perfection, humans relied on audacity and instinct. The first challenge of the day was the obstacle grid, a sprawling arena where gravity shifted, walls reshaped themselves, and energy pulses could throw even the most disciplined cadet off balance. Alien students approached methodically, scanning, calculating, adjusting. Humans paused, observing patterns, noticing subtle oscillations in the shifting platforms and the faint vibrations beneath the floor that hinted at when a wall would close. When the signal sounded, the aliens launched in perfect arcs, limbs extending with impossible precision. Humans hesitated a fraction longer, then moved, leaping diagonally, twisting midair, and using improvisation rather than pre-programmed routines. A wall swung into a passage, but Rylan had already vaulted over it, grabbing a floating energy rod to propel himself across a gap. Another human, Mira, rolled under a pulsating energy beam, then kicked a small drone into a moving panel, knocking it slightly off course and opening a new path. The crowd gasped. Humans weren't just participating, they were rewriting the rules of the simulation in real time. Later, the humans were assigned to tactical problem-solving exercises with alien cadets from elite houses. The scenario was simple to an alien mind: negotiate a standoff between two opposing factions in a holographic city. Aliens approached it systematically, predicting responses, measuring probabilities, calculating optimal compromises. Humans. They asked questions no one thought to ask, observed microbehaviors in the holograms, and improvised unexpected solutions. They suggested alliances based on intuition rather than logic, creating pathways that solved deadlocks without conflict. Alien instructors hovered nearby, clicking mandibles in disbelief. Impossible, one muttered in a language no human understood. And yet, it works. The cafeteria offered another stage for human ingenuity. Anti-gravity trays floated chaotically above diners, alien cadets coordinated tentacle movements to catch food midair. Humans, laughing, darted between the chaos, catching trays with one hand, improvising midair flips, and even using floating drink cylinders as stepping stones to reach high platforms. A particularly large alien cadet with 6 arms struggled to lift a heavy tray. A human reached over, caught it effortlessly, and set it down. Shocked glances met amusement and quiet pride. Humor and cleverness were as much weapons as skill. As the day turned to evening, humans were sent on a reconnaissance exercise in the city streets. Korrathia's streets twisted with vertical lanes, hovercraft traffic, and glowing holographic signage. Alien cadets analyzed the patterns of traffic, pedestrian flows, and surveillance drones. Humans, however, saw shortcuts and improvisation opportunities no algorithm predicted, jumping from hover lanes to ledges, ducking under floating barriers, and weaving through crowded plazas with instinctive timing. Small acts, like flipping a failing energy panel to create a temporary bridge, made them appear almost magical to the alien observers. In the quiet of the Academy's observation decks, humans reflected. They watched the city glow with neon and prismatic sunlight fading into twilight. "We're small," Rylan said, "but small doesn't mean weak. It means we can fit where no one expects, see what no one notices, and move where no one dares." Around him, his fellow cadets nodded. The aliens might have centuries of precision, but humans had something else: audacity, creativity, humor, and the stubborn refusal to be underestimated. That night, humans gathered on the balcony overlooking the sprawling city. Some shared stories of Earth, others observed alien constellations invisible to human eyes. Laughter echoed across the towers, sharp and bright, standing out against the hum of alien civilization. In those moments, humans were not just surviving, they were thriving, clever in ways that unsettled even the most confident alien cadets. The galaxy might have thought them fragile newcomers, but they were sparks capable of igniting awe, laughter, and fear. The next morning, the Academy's skyports buzzed with unusual activity. Drones and hovercrafts traced frantic paths above the city as alerts pulsed across every terminal. Today's exercise had transformed into something real. A rogue AI construct, left behind by a civilization long extinct, had been detected near the outer sectors. Its body was a shifting amalgam of energy, metal, and alien tech, capable of adapting to nearly any attack. Alien cadets froze in controlled panic, their instincts tuned for calculation and routine. Humans, however, instinctively scanned. Adapted, and planned in real time, Rylan and his team were deployed to the outer sector streets. Towering buildings of transparent alloys and prismatic glass reflected the rogue AI's pulses in fractured light. Alien forces approached with extreme caution, coordinating strategies over multiple limbs and sensory arrays. Humans moved differently, small, agile, improvising with speed and instinct rather than formal planning. The first encounter was immediate. The AI projected tendrils of energy, sweeping across the street in lethal arcs. Alien cadets dodged with precision, but each calculated move was anticipated by the AI, forcing retreat. Rylan observed patterns, the flicker of a pulse, the subtle vibration beneath a walkway, the timing between attacks. With a leap, he vaulted over a collapsing panel, kicked a floating debris drone into the AI's path, and disrupted its sequence. Mira followed, weaving unpredictably between energy arcs, sending reflective surfaces spinning to distract the construct. The aliens watched, slack-jawed, as humans turned chaos into opportunity. Where centuries of training had failed, instinctive improvisation succeeded. Small objects became tools, gaps became traps, timing became a weapon. Every misstep by a human became part of the strategy, reshaping the battlefield in ways no alien mind had anticipated. Later, in the narrow alleys between crystalline towers, humans discovered the AI's adaptation pattern. It analyzed movement and predicted attacks based on repetition. Humans ceased repeating anything. Rylan led his team in erratic, looping paths, feints, and seemingly reckless dives. Each human acted independently yet in synchrony, creating a fractal of unpredictability. The AI hesitated, its patterns disrupted by variables it could not compute. Aliens took notes, their minds struggling to understand how instinct and audacity could outperform centuries of logic. During a brief pause, Rylan climbed to a vantage balcony overlooking the chaos. The city below gleamed in neon and sunlight, a mosaic of motion and energy. He traced the AI's projected paths, noticing small inconsistencies in its timing. His heart beat fast, not from fear, but from exhilaration. It adapts, he said, almost to himself. But it can't predict the impossible. Around him, other humans improvised, turning the environment itself into a labyrinth, using floating panels, cables, and even discarded drones as traps and diversions. As dusk fell, the humans executed a coordinated maneuver that no alien had predicted. They funneled the AI into a containment field previously deemed too unstable for deployment. Alien cadets froze in disbelief as humans, small and improvisational, controlled a machine thought invincible. With a final pulse of ingenuity, a reflective panel redirected energy. A floating drone triggered a sequence. The AI was neutralized, harmless yet intact. In the quiet that followed, humans walked among the streets, observing small details aliens had overlooked, energy conduits humming with faint life, panels misaligned, streets glowing unevenly. Where others saw chaos, humans saw patterns, humor, and opportunity. Reflection mingled with pride. The threat had been immense, yet humans had turned weakness into advantage, chaos into mastery. That evening, back on the Academy's observation balcony, humans gathered to watch the stars. The city beneath them shimmered like liquid crystal, the rogue AI now contained, a silent testament to their ingenuity. Alien cadets lingered nearby, silent, studying the humans. They had witnessed audacity, improvisation, and courage. And in the quiet glow of twilight, Rylan realized, humans were small, fragile, seemingly outmatched. But no challenge, no algorithm, no ancient system could anticipate the ingenuity of a human mind. The city had not yet recovered from the rogue AI encounter when a new alarm shattered the calm. High-pitched, reverberating, impossible to ignore, it pulsed through the Academy's crystalline towers and neon streets alike. Reports streamed in, a faction of alien warlords, rogue even by the Academy's standards, had infiltrated the lower sectors. Their goal was audacious, seize control of the Central Command Tower. And with it, the city's entire defense network. Cadets of all species were mobilized. Aliens moved with precision, limbs and sensors working in harmony, forming disciplined formations as if choreography could ensure survival. Humans, small and seemingly fragile, were assigned to reconnaissance and improvisational tactics, roles the alien hierarchy deemed secondary. But where the aliens relied on predictability, humans thrived on the unknown. Rylan's team darted through twisting streets, leaping between floating platforms, sliding under energy barriers, improvising paths that no alien mind would conceive. Surveillance drones zipped overhead, energy turrets lined the rooftops, and the city itself seemed to pulse with tension. Humans observed patterns, subtle vibrations, the microsignals in the warlords' coordination that hinted at weakness. Where others saw chaos, they saw opportunity. The first engagement occurred near the Eastern Plaza. Warlords, towering and heavily armored, advanced with lethal grace. Alien cadets hesitated, recalculating. Humans didn't hesitate. They transformed everyday objects into weapons of improvisation. A floating market crate became a ramp to launch a human into the air, a discarded energy panel redirected an incoming blast, and debris was manipulated to block paths strategically. The warlords were efficient, powerful, terrifying, but humans were unpredictable, fast, audacious. Each move was calculated instinctively, each improvisation deadly in its ingenuity. Amid the chaos, Mira spotted a sequence in the warlord's approach, a small window where a gravity control panel could be flipped, sending a platform cascading into the enemy line. She signaled subtly, and Rylan and two others executed the maneuver. The warlord's formation faltered, aliens who had trained for centuries froze. Human laughter, quiet but sharp, cut through the tension as they exploited gaps no alien calculation could anticipate. The Central Command Tower loomed like a crystalline monolith, its pinnacle piercing the neon dusk. Inside, layered security systems and energy grids hummed with authority. The warlords' objective was clear, they intended to seize control. Humans approached with caution and instinct. While alien cadets attempted brute force intrusion, humans analyzed, improvising solutions based on observation, intuition, and daring leaps of logic. Panels rerouted, energy flows reversed, and improvised shields created cover where none existed. Midway through the tower, Rylan encountered the warlord's elite guards, massive, multi-limbed, and heavily armed. He paused, considering every angle, structural weaknesses, gravitational shifts, ambient energy conduits. Then he acted, not with brute force, but with improvisation. A pulse of kinetic energy from a displaced panel sent the guards tumbling. While he vaulted upward, using the environment as an extension of his own body. The others followed in chaotic synchrony, small humans reshaping the battlefield against impossible odds. In the observation gardens above the city, humans paused for a moment of reflection. Neon lights shimmered off crystalline walls, the sprawling city below seemed alive, almost sentient in its reactions. "We are small," Rylan whispered, "but every step we take bends the rules of their world." Around him, his fellow cadets nodded. Humor, audacity, courage, and cleverness intertwined. Where the warlords relied on strength and precision, humans relied on creativity, unpredictability, and instinct, the climax came at the pinnacle of the command tower. Energy nodes pulsed around the warlords' control interface, a chaotic web of power channels. Alien cadets hesitated, analyzing risk, calculating failure. Humans surged forward, improvising a sequence no algorithm could predict. Reflective panels redirected energy pulses, floating drones created temporary shields, and instinct guided each movement. Ryland's hand touched the control interface, rerouting the entire system in a dazzling display of ingenuity. The warlords' plan collapsed, their coordinated strength rendered useless against human unpredictability. By nightfall, the city pulsed with neon serenity once more. Humans stood atop the balcony of the command tower, exhausted but triumphant. The stars above shimmered as witnesses. Alien cadets lingered below, silent, absorbing the impossible reality. Small, fragile humans had mastered a challenge that should have overwhelmed even the most seasoned alien warriors. In the quiet after the storm, Ryland reflected, gazing at the lights flickering below. The city had been threatened, yet humans had prevailed, not through brute strength, not through centuries of training, but through audacity, improvisation, and heart. They had taken chaos, analyzed it instinctively, and transformed it into victory. In that moment, the universe seemed to shift subtly, recognizing a truth long underestimated. Humans, small as they might appear, were capable of reshaping any challenge, bending the galaxy to the rhythm of their ingenuity. The morning light filtered through Korrathia's crystalline towers in fractured streams of neon and sunlight, casting long, prismatic shadows across the academy. The aftermath of the command tower confrontation lingered in the air, a quiet hum of curiosity and tension among the cadets. Alien instructors observed humans with cautious fascination, whispering about their audacity, their instinct, and the ways in which they seemed to bend every rule without breaking it. Ryland and his team were assigned to a new challenge: diplomacy simulations. Alien cadets assumed the roles of feuding interstellar factions. Armed with centuries of tradition, protocol, and calculated strategy, humans were expected to participate as intermediaries, a role alien minds deemed trivial, mere observers of decisions they had already predetermined. But humans, as always, did not follow expectations. The first simulation began with holographic cities projected across the training floor. Factions negotiated, alliances formed, and minor disputes escalated with precision. Alien cadets calculated probabilities of compromise, predicting outcomes with near-perfect accuracy. Humans, small and improvisational, observed micro-expressions in holographic avatars, subtle shifts in tone, and unspoken tensions that simulations barely captured. Ryland asked questions no alien had considered, pointing out opportunities for compromise rooted not in logic, but in empathy and intuition. Slowly, deadlocks dissolved, and solutions emerged that were elegant, surprising, and distinctly human. Next came a test of improvisation under pressure. A simulated energy conduit within the academy began to malfunction, threatening to collapse a structural sector of the training halls. Alien cadets froze, recalculating risk, seeking approval, hesitating in perfect formation. Humans, however, rushed forward instinctively. Panels were rerouted, makeshift levers improvised, and energy pulses stabilized before the simulation could reach critical failure. The room erupted into murmurs. Humans had saved a crisis that should have been insurmountable, not through brute force, but through cleverness, audacity, and a willingness to act decisively. The cafeteria offered a quieter yet no less revealing stage. Floating trays and anti-gravity beverages challenged coordination for the aliens, but humans improvised with playful efficiency. Ryland caught a tumbling tray midair. Mira rearranged floating containers to create a temporary bridge for a struggling cadet, and small acts of humor, like adjusting holographic menus to spell out playful messages, sparked laughter and confusion among the alien cadets. Through these small, clever acts, humans communicated in a language of defiance, ingenuity, and charm. In the observation gardens, humans paused to reflect. Holographic flora pulsed in patterns almost imperceptible to alien minds. Light refracted through crystalline structures, creating shifting rainbows across polished floors. Rylan traced the subtle rhythms of energy, noting interactions between flora, gravity fields, and artificial weather simulations. Where aliens sought perfection, humans sought insight, humor, and connection. Even amidst training and conflict, they discovered the unexpected, the overlooked, and the profound. The final exercise of the day combined strategy, diplomacy, and improvisation. Humans were tasked with mediating a dispute between factions over control of a shared resource, a holographic energy node. Alien cadets approached it with precise calculations, weighing variables, predicting outcomes. Humans moved differently. They observed the patterns of hesitation, empathized with the motivations, and proposed solutions that seemed improbable yet harmonious. The node was shared without conflict. The factions, initially tense, found compromise, and the humans had done what centuries of alien training could not, blend audacity with morality. By nightfall, the city shimmered under the soft glow of 3 suns afterlight, fractured across glass towers and neon streets. Humans gathered atop a balcony, sharing quiet laughter, stories of Earth, and reflections on their day. Alien cadets lingered below. Silent, watching, recording every improvisation, every audacious solution, every subtle act of defiance. In that quiet, humans were more than outsiders. They were pioneers of a new kind of ingenuity, blending humor, empathy, and cunning into a presence that reshaped the academy itself. Rylan gazed across the glowing cityscape, feeling the weight of small hands capable of monumental impact. They had proven time and again that intelligence, courage, and moral depth could outshine brute strength and ancient calculations. Where the galaxy expected fragility, humans had offered brilliance. Where it expected predictability, humans had offered chaos, laughter, and audacious ingenuity. And in that realization, he felt a quiet pride, knowing that the universe had yet to understand the full reach of humanity. The alarm shattered the early dawn. Crimson warning lights pulsed through Korrathia's crystalline towers, bathing the city in fractured chaos. Reports streamed in. A coalition of rogue warlords, remnants of the outer systems, had launched a coordinated assault. Their fleet hovered above the city like dark constellations, energy weapons humming, hovering siege engines casting shadows across the Academy's spires. For centuries, no single force had challenged the combined might of Korrathia and its allied cadets, but humans were about to defy expectations once again. Rylan's team raced through streets that twisted with vertical lanes, glowing panels, and shifting gravity fields. Alien cadets moved in disciplined waves, shields raised, energy pulses calculated. Humans thrived in unpredictability. They darted between floating barricades, launched themselves across unstable platforms, and turned debris, energy conduits, and even stray drones into improvised weapons and tools. Each human movement seemed reckless, yet precise. Every leap, roll, and grab was calculated in instinctive defiance. The first clash erupted in the Eastern District. Warlord troops, massive and heavily armored, advanced with synchronized ferocity. Alien cadets engaged in precise formations, but humans infiltrated the gaps, using misdirections, reflective surfaces, and impromptu devices to disrupt the enemy's rhythm. A rogue drone barreled into a hovering energy panel, sending it spinning into the line of attackers. Mira leaped atop it, using it as a springboard to disarm a warlord before rolling into cover. Alien observers froze, struggling to comprehend the audacity. Humans, small and seemingly fragile, were rewriting the rules of warfare. Rylan's mind raced. He traced the energy flows across the battlefield, predicting the warlord's next move not by calculation but by intuition. He manipulated an unstable conduit, diverting an energy pulse into a collapsing structure. The warlords paused, astonished, as human ingenuity turned city architecture into a defensive advantage. Other humans followed, improvising shields with floating panels, redirecting pulses, and turning gravity fields into traps. The city itself became an extension of human ingenuity, a partner in defiance. At the heart of the chaos stood the central command tower, the warlord's ultimate objective. It pulsed with control nodes, energy grids, and defensive fields. Alien cadets hesitated, evaluating risk, calculating every possibility. Humans surged forward with instinctive courage. Rylan leapt into the tower, dodging energy arcs, flipping improvised barriers into place, using each misstep of the enemy to advance. The warlords' elite guards, massive and precise, lunged, but humans, unpredictable and audacious, turned every attack into opportunity. A floating drone redirected a laser pulse, a reflective panel sent a shielded warlord off balance, and instinct guided each movement in a symphony of chaos. Inside the tower, the warlords activated the central interface. Energy pulses roared, threatening citywide destruction. Alien cadets froze, overwhelmed by centuries of security protocols and layers of defense they could not bypass. Humans moved differently. Rylan analyzed subtle irregularities in the flow, gaps in timing, energy echoes, microdelays no algorithm could detect. Hands flying over controls, improvising sequences, he rerouted the systems, stabilized energy nodes, and neutralized the warlord's plan, not through brute force, but through audacity, cleverness, and instinct. Outside, the city erupted in light and motion. Rogue forces collapsed, retreating in disbelief. Alien cadets watched silently, recording every improvisation, every bold move, every act of human ingenuity. Humans were small, fragile, seemingly unprepared, but unstoppable when audacity, intelligence, and heart converged. As night fell, Rylan and his team emerged onto the observation balcony atop the command tower. The city below glimmered like liquid crystal, calm and alive. They looked up at the stars, imagining the galaxy beyond the towers, vast and unknowable. Around them, alien cadets lingered, silent, absorbing a truth that would be taught for generations: humans could face chaos and triumph. Defying expectations with cleverness, courage, and unbreakable will, Rylan exhaled, feeling the weight of countless small hands capable of monumental feats. The universe had tested them, the galaxy had challenged them, and they had emerged not just victorious, but legendary, and so, the stars learned to fear the sound of a human heartbeat.